Okay, well, I'm sorry about that. There's no way I can go back to the other one. And there's no way I can change this over to my OBS. So I'm going to have to do the best that I can. I'm sorry, folks. Probably nobody is here. And I don't think I can get to the other one. Let me try that real quick. Maybe I could put a chat there. Well, hopefully folks will figure this out. I don't think I can get to my old one here. Okay, we'll try it again. This is the best that I can do. I had cameras, but I'm not going to be able to make those work. So let me quickly show you the shop. I've got a bandsaw and a sanding machine. And over here, I have the drill press, which unfortunately is going to be hard for you to see, but I will do my best. And let's start with the definition of the project. So I've started making one of these that you can see here. This is an example of what I'm going to make. And I start with a drawing of a fish like this, right? And so the next thing that I'm going to do with that is cut it out like this. And once I've got something like that, I traced it onto a piece of paper. So I'm going to select a piece of wood here, big enough for this project. This looks nice. And I'm going to draw on here. This will be a little hard to see, but let me do what I can here. Now, I'm just putting it on here enough so that I can see. I'm sure you guys will not be able to see the actual pencil lines, but if it slips out of the way, I have to reposition it. Here you go. Sorry about losing the live stream. It's my first one. So now I've mostly got this drawn. I don't know if you guys can see that in the, yeah, you can see that, right? So the challenge with something like this is making an actual shape with it. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to drill some holes in these locations here to make these inside curves easier. And you can see I've sort of drawn here what I'm going to do. Now I'm going to see if I can, pretty sure there's no way to change the camera, but that would be super neat. Because I do have other cameras, but there's no way to do that. Okay, so, but you can see the drill press there, and I'm going to do what I can to make it visible for you. So I'm going to be drilling all the way through these. So I need a piece of wood underneath to drill into so that I don't drill into the crossbones here. And so what's most important is that I can secure my stock here. And as I'm going to be using working tool, always wear your goggles. This is a fundraiser, by the way, for Ace Monster Toys. And I will put the URL into the descriptions of this after I have managed to upload this all. So I'm going to use a Forstner bit. This is an interesting kind of a drill bit. Okay. And I'm going to chuck it up here. Actually, I'm going to take my regular glasses off. Let's see what I'm doing. You have to chuck these up and tighten them from 2 locations. So first, now this is called a cross vise. You can move these here to position exactly where the bit is going to go. Forgive me for getting in the way here. Really, the insides are what matter. I can make the outside any shape I want. And I'm going to set a depth to about there. There we go. Now I can see the different color shading, so I know I got into the one below. And now I'm going to do the same thing over here. Let's see. There. Here, I need to get my pattern again. Just to see where that went. Okay, so the tail's like this, and it's way back here. Oh. Looks pretty good. Okay. Now I'm going to use a smaller bit. I'm going to use a smaller bit to make a smaller hole. There we go. I don't have a Forstner bit this small. And these are to make the small curves in here and there. Okay. Okay, so here's what I've got so far, which doesn't look like much, I'm sure. There, can you see the pencil lines? So Now I am going to work on the bandsaw for a minute. So let me take you over to where you can see the bandsaw, hopefully. You're not going to be able to see me doing it super well. Let's see, I can get that. Maybe that's okay right there. So, here we go. I'm going to turn the dust collector on. It's going to make a lot of noise. Sorry. So you guys can see the pattern. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make it smaller. I'm going to resaw it to make it thinner. And now I'm going to actually cut the fish out of it. the dust collector here. Okay, so this is what we've made so far. And now we're going to try to shape it. And to shape it, I'm going to bring us over here to the sander. And I'm going to hope that you guys can see well. So for this machine to work, I need a dust collector and I need the sander to work. I don't think you guys are going to be able to hear me, so I won't talk. But I'm gonna let it drag the wood into the sander. Okay, so here's what we've got so far, and focus may not be quite right here, but so at this point I can't use the big sander to sand any of these inside edges. I'm going to have to use a Dremel tool, which I have here. And the Dremel tool has a few different tips. It has smaller tips and larger tips, and I've got some grinders here, but basically let me start with a smaller tip if I can. Well, simply jam that in there. Hang on a second, I need some pliers. So I mentioned this is a fundraiser for Ace Monster Toys COVID-19 fund, and I will put a link into this after the video. But you can also go to acemonstertoys.org, and there's a link on the homepage, acemonstertoys.org. So this is an adjustable speed tool. You can, if you find that your wood is burning, then you probably do want to lower the speed, and I've lowered this a little bit for the last piece of wood I was using. This wood is Goncalo Alves, and it's kind of a waxy, very dense wood. I enjoy working with it. I had a piece of it. So I'm going to try to do these inside edges here. And my goal is to make everything smooth. No lines that aren't fish-like. This will take a little while. But remember that I made the inside of these curves with a drill, so I don't have to worry about making them completely round. They already are. All I'm trying to do is smooth everything out in between where I use the bandsaw. Bandsaw never leaves a smooth edge. I'm not sure if you guys can see very well here. I'll try to do it up here. It's better, let me move this down a little bit to where I'm working. That's probably better. So I don't know if you can tell or not. Can you see any flat spots in here, maybe when the light shines off of it at different angles? I'm getting rid of those flat spots. And they're obvious when you're actually looking at it up close. Think of them as the facets on a gem. I'm getting rid of those facets so that there's nothing left but curves. Which don't have flat spots. That's part of how you can tell. By the way, this is not dangerous. I mean, you still want to be a little careful with it, of course, but it's not like it's got blades on it. One thing I've done that may not be obvious is that I've been sanding on different sides to create sort of a flowing effect. So like this top fin is curved in 3 dimensions. And that tip is going to be pretty fragile out there. I mean, if it breaks off, that's a bummer, so we'll be careful. But, you know, no one knows what it's supposed to look like, so you can hardly go wrong. These lines here you can see from the bandsaw. See those lines right there? The bandsaw left those lines. I'm going to use the sander a bit more. And back to the Dremel. What I did was I created kind of a hip in the back there. I wish I could show you better. Okay, so it's pretty well shaped now. Now I'm just looking for things that would be really hard to sand. Little edges that are still sharp. Because the next step is going to be some hand sanding, which I'm certainly not a fan of. One of the things I like about making little things like this is there's less sanding because they're just smaller. That's going to break off for sure one of these days. Okay, let's see. Anything else? That's a little bit in need of sanding. That right there, a little flat. Okay. So it looks pretty good. Notice the tail is different from the body. Tail's moving differently from the body. I could have started with a thicker piece of wood. I actually made it possible to make a second one at some point if I feel like it, but just this is how that started here. So let me grab some sandpaper. And we'll start with something kind of rough. Try to sand with the grain. Grain is kind of transverse on this piece of wood. I mean, grain's kind of going down. This is like probably 120 grit right here. This thing is actually, it has points. It is a little sharp. Maybe I'll just dull those out a little bit. It'll also help reduce the chances that it breaks. Okay, so let's see, this side needs a little more. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to sand this with a variety of grits, getting smoother and smoother as I go. Every sandpaper grit is going to leave behind some little scratches. And the next one, the next grit, will leave behind smaller scratches. So, let's see. Here is some I think this is about 400. Normally I might go to a 220, but this Goncalo Alves is really fairly soft and waxy. It sands really easy. It's one of the reasons why I like it. And see, this, in a cooking video, this is where they put the food into an oven and pull out the finished one so you can see what it looks like. That'd be a little hard here. Although I could have made another one and then done it ahead of time, but I didn't have time to do that. It's getting pretty smooth. Normally I would do a much more thorough job, but I'm gonna move on so I can show you the final effect of this. As we scale up to smoother and smoother grits, this is like 600, I think. I think it's 600. When you sand with extremely smooth, extremely fine sandpaper, you can actually start to bring out a shine on the wood. And one of the things I love doing is sanding it down to like 2000 grit or something. Auto color sanding paper. Because at that point, it's so shiny. It's like you coated it with like epoxy paint or lacquer. It's really amazing. That isn't a super durable shiny surface, but actually it's not that bad. It'll last a long time. I mean, the purpose of a finish, of course, is to preserve the wood and make it look nice. And preserving it means defending it against all things that might damage it or deteriorate it. And one of the first steps that anything is going to use in damaging the wood is going to be to get underneath the grain. So if you have sanded it incredibly smooth, it's very hard for anything to get under the grain. See, I went too fast. I need to go back to a little bit stiffer paper. Get rid of that. Even more than that. Better. We're getting there. It's looking pretty nice, actually. Pretty happy with it. I could put in some gills. I guess I have to decide which way is up. Is that up or is that up? I think that's up. So gills might be like that. Let's see. This looks like it might work. Now it's got some gills. I'm going to sand it a little bit more. I'm going to go up to a finer grit now. Let's see, how about this right here? This is like 1200. And of course I would have to do both sides, but I'm going to try to get through this because our hour is almost up. There's about 15 minutes left. Oh, check it out. The sawdust has accentuated inside the gills. That's kind of nice. What do I have here? This is even finer. Where's the other one of those? And other film, there it is. Film sanding paper. So this stuff is like 2,000-3,000 grit, something like that. It doesn't even feel like sandpaper. It feels like plastic. But it can bring out a shine in the wood. Holy cow. Can you guys start to see that? Here, let me get this up a little higher. Let me get some glare off of that. It's nice. It's incredibly smooth. Of course, getting all of these interior edges is going to involve a lot of specialized sanding. So, for example, I like to do things like take a little bit of sanding paper, wrap it around a pencil, go for it. Because ultimately, you got to wear it all down. It's all got to be made smooth. And there you have it. That's probably enough. This is the finished product here. Let me raise this up like that. And again, this has been a project from the Ace Monster Toys workshop, which is currently closed because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And Ace Monster Toys has repurposed itself to make personal protective gear, face masks and face shields, although I think that they're focusing on face masks now. They're making hundreds a day. It's because Ace Monster Toys has laser cutters, assembly areas. We have great leadership. Crafty Avenger, Rachel, is our leader, and she has organized an assembly line to produce PPE, getting supplies from all kinds of donations from nearby. That's been going on for days now, and they've produced hundreds and hundreds already. They provide these to people who need them, who can't necessarily get them from the federal government or even the state government. Home health care providers, people who are taking care of others. You know, even doctors' offices are running short on these things, and they still have to provide services. So ACE hooks these people up. It's been amazing. One of the reasons why ACE is able to do this is because we operate virtually. We've been using Slack and email, of course, and our web and our wiki, so that we can reach our people. They can come in, they can do a shift. We have lots of maker types who are really interested and ready to help. So you can go to acemonstertoys.org, and there's the COVID-19 Relief Fund, which will help fund these activities. ACE is closed right now, so our normal sources of income are not present. I used to teach the certification classes here for the stationary equipment, but nobody is allowed in to do work here now. So in addition to struggling for survival, ACE is also producing things that are needed by the community, and this woodworking project, and this live stream today was to help raise money for Ace Monster Toys to both survive and continue to produce PPE. So again, acemonstertoys.org, and click the link for COVID-19. And that's it for today. Thank you. I'm sorry about canceling and restarting the live stream. I probably lost a bunch of people, but hey, it's my first one, so it's okay. I'll do better next time. Thank you all, and have a great day.